Great. Okay. So welcome everybody. I see we've got quorum of commissioners. We are missing two commissioners, looks like, or three, Commissioner Hoyt as well. Okay. Rachel, could you go over verification of notice, please?
Yes, notice was sent to the listservs and posted to our website.
Okay. Now we're going to move to approval of the agenda, and I will throw a link to the agenda in our chat.
Can I ask a question
Of course.
regarding the agenda? Was the I got an email saying that someone had requested a change in the consent calendar. I don't know whether that was done or not.
It has not been done. I was wondering if there was a motion to do so.
I think we just remove it. I don't think we need a motion.
Well, or rather not a motion, but if anybody wanted it moved to the regular part of the agenda. Wow, we've got a big meeting this evening.
Typically what we've done in the past, this doesn't come up very often, but it was always part of the an articulated part of the practice that if anyone requested, even at a meeting, that an item on consent calendar be moved to the regular agenda, that we would agree to do that.
All right. Well then, sounds like Nancy, you're referring to the District Kitchen, 2606 Connecticut Avenue.
That's the one where I got. I think we all got information about it, a request.
Yeah. Okay. So that is off the consent calendar. We'll move. So okay. So that is now under commission business.
Thank you.
Let's move it to the first part of commission business, actually. Let's see. All those, is everybody okay with the agenda? Do I hear any objections to the agenda as it's been amended? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted, and that means that the BZA special exception application for 3827 Massachusetts Avenue is supported by us, and the HPRB application for 3510 Macomb Street is also supported. Okay, so let's see. Now we move to announcements. Are there any announcements, commissioners?
Yes. Yes, actually, I would like to make two very quick ones, both with reference to the Cleveland Park Library. And I apologize, I'm not on video. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and I really don't know why. On Mondays, these are both recurring events. On Mondays, the library is hosting a studio art classes for seniors who have some prior drawing experience. The class is from 10:30 to 12:30 in the morning. Prior registration is necessary, so you need to go on the Cleveland Park Library website to register, and these classes will be held through December. And then the other library event I wanted to mention is for the other end of the age spectrum. This is for kids ages 2 to 5. It's an outdoor story time. It is held on Wednesdays. There are two different sessions. One is 10:30 to 11. The other is 11:30 to 12. There's no registration required, but space is limited, so it is on a first come, first served basis. And the Wednesday's morning story times will be held through, I believe, December 8th. If there are concerns about whether the library suggests that you call the day of to find out if there's a rain event or it's just too cold and they are going to cancel. And the library number is 202-282-3080. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McWood. I've got a quick announcement on behalf of Cleveland Park Main Street. The Holiday Lights program, which is district-wide, will begin Saturday, November 19th at 5 p.m. and run through January 6th. Cleveland Park Main Street has 31 businesses signed up to participate. Some are in need of decorations and donations are being accepted. I will put that link in the chat. Give me a second. And this is courtesy of CPMS. Let's see. And this, of course, there's Small Business Saturday at the Farmers Market. Will be November 27th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, this coming Saturday. There will be a winter market hosted in front of the Uptown. That will be on December 11th from 1:30 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. And I'm looking forward to that. And as you may have noticed, there's a lot of construction in the service lane, and I think Commissioner McWood and Commissioner Siddiqui, we might touch upon this in our SMD reports, but Cleveland Park Main Street is looking to plan a construction fest to kind of make more light of the situation of all the construction we have in our neighborhood. And so to reach out on that, you contact Cassandra at District Bridges, which is, so yeah, you can shoot me an email too if you need to be put in touch with her. So moving along from there, we'll go to, I believe, the community forum. Sorry. So is there anybody, members of the community, who would like to speak? You can choose raise your hand, and then we'll ask you to unmute. You can raise your hand by clicking the reactions button down at the bottom and choosing the raise hand radio button that pops up. Okay, and I've got Lyle Blanchard. Mr. Blanchard, I've asked you to unmute.
Good evening, Commissioner, our Chairperson Finley, and ANC commissioners. I'm sorry, I just joined a minute ago in the when you were going through your announcements, so I did not hear whether the issue that I've been emailing about the past week has come off the consent agenda or not.
Yes, it is. It is our first order of regular business, and so we'll have a discussion on that in a few minutes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And I believe Declan Falls is here from Chairman Mendelson's office.
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Certainly can.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, commissioners and members of the community, for having me. My name is Declan Falls. I just recently joined Chairman Mendelson's office as a part of his constituent services team. So I am super excited to be here and plan to be on future meetings for your ANC. I don't have a ton of specific statements or messages from the chairman. I mostly wanted to be here to introduce myself and to give out my contact information for if anyone would like to be in touch with our office, whether it's for messages for the chairman or if there's anything our constituent services team can help with. I'm always happy to do that and pass it on to the right people. I will also put my information in the chat in a minute, but for reference, my email address is dfalls, that's DFALLS, at dccouncil.us. My phone number is 312-292-0022. Please excuse the out-of-state, out-of-district area code. I swear I do live in DC, just haven't changed it yet. But please feel free to reach out, email, call, or text if there's anything that our office can do for you. Again, I think that's all that I have for today, and I'll put my information in the chat in a minute. But thanks again for having me, and I hope to be on future meetings.
Thank you for joining us. All right,
Of course.
we now move to, is there anybody else from the community who would like to speak? Okay, so we're moving now to commission business, and our first item of commission business will be consideration of a historic preservation review board application for district kitchen at 2606 Connecticut Avenue for clear vinyl side panels attached to the existing sidewalk cafe awning. We've heard this presentation at 2 planning and zoning committee meetings this month, and I believe in October. So Commissioner McWood, please correct me if I'm wrong. Commissioner Fink, do you have a resolution to put forward on this? Jason, are you there? Okay. Maybe we'll, Jason, if you're having trouble unmuting, please, got my phone on me. You can text me or call me. Let me know. But, okay, we will move on to consideration of a historic preservation review board application for 3411 Newark Street Northwest to redesign an enclosed one-story side porch.
Commissioner Finley, do I get to speak?
We'll come back to this item, yes, sir, and you'll have a chance to speak then. We have not. There's been no resolution proposed and no motion put forward by the commissioner at issue, so we'll give him another chance, but move on to 3411 Newark.
All right.
So as well as redesign and close one-story side porch and construct a two-story rear addition, the application also includes redesign front door portico and orientation of front steps. And Commissioner McWood, did you want to kick this off?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is as the chairman said, a HPRB application for concept consideration of a two-story addition at 3411 Newark Street, as well as some changes to the front facade. The changes to the front facade were the most, how should I put this? The most, got the most attention, I believe, because that rarely happens in the historic district, but some excellent research was done both by the Historic Preservation Office and by the applicant's architect, which I think he will raise. So that concern has pretty much been put to rest. But because there were some historic preservation issues, we did not put this on consent and wanted to give the applicant another opportunity to present to the public. So I think, Chairman Finley, you've got it's a small slide deck.
Yes, I was actually going to make Chris a co-host, and if he wanted to share it that way.
Yeah, the architect is here, Chris Lyons.
Yes, hello everyone. I'd be glad to go ahead and share my screen. But yes, I'm the architect, and I'm working with the homeowner, Martha Vikas, who is also here, I believe. And we're excited to share our design with everyone. We've been coordinating extensively with Steve Calcott over at HPO, as well as Commissioner McWood. We presented a couple weeks ago at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. And then last week, we presented to the Cleveland Park ARC, and we've been getting good feedback along the way. So without further ado, I will go ahead and share my screen. Is that PDF showing up for everybody?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yes, we are proposing to do a rear two-story addition to the existing home, indicated by the shaded area at the rear of the site plan here. We are leaving the existing 4-square main body of the house intact. We do propose to paint that, but we want to keep all the wood trim and details. We are seeking approval to replace the windows. We are reworking the side porch here and changing the roof line as well as the windows. We have some photos that I'll share here in a moment. And we are proposing a new front portico here with new front steps leading to or better addressing the front of the street. A lot of this discussion was with HPO regarding some of the features of the original architect, John Sherman, and how inviting a typical Sherman home was. And after doing some research, which I will share, we determined that the front of the house had been heavily modified. And so we wanted to make some changes to once again kind of bring back the spirit without doing exactly what was there before. We wanted to bring back some of the main goals that the original architect had in mind when designing the house. So in addition to the portico, we're also proposing some window wells around the house. And there's an existing studio in the backyard that we are leaving alone. So let's see here. In terms of our site context, we're on the middle of the block between 34th Place and 34th Street, right in line with the existing homes and pretty close on our site to the neighbors. But we do have heavy tree cover around the entire site. We had a survey of the property done, kind of showing the existing front approach walk leading up to the existing home. We're about 55 feet from the street. And so really, largely the extent of what's being proposed is only visible on the front elevation. The rear addition that's proposed is quite tucked back in here. Just for some context with photos, we have the front of the home with sort of the existing side entry that's a little bit uninviting and has been altered from its original condition. This is a photo walking up the front stairs, showing both the front and the side of the house with the studio beyond. On the right here, we have the existing porch and a rear view of that porch at the bottom left here. And then we are completely redoing the rear facade, which has been significantly altered over the years. And this is a street view image just showing that really all you can see of the site is just the front facade of the house, especially with all the vegetation around it and how far back it is from the street. So some of the research that we did after discussing the project with Steve Colcott led us to some clues that the building had been altered. We noticed that the existing stone veneer on the house foundation was very rough and most likely not meant to be exposed. There's also, it's hard to see at this scale, but the siding on the house looked like it had been altered, and the side porch had been heavily altered and enclosed over the years. So that led us to do some more digging into the house and the history, and we were able to find a 1916 map showing that the house indeed had a wraparound front porch and side porch at one time, which has been generally completely removed. And what is remaining has been heavily modified. So that really gave us some support to go ahead and propose the changes to the front and the side of the house, which we understand are not typically granted. So we appreciate everyone's consideration in that regard. I'll just quickly go through the plans, but essentially we are doing a full dig out of the basement as well as the addition. A new kitchen and family room addition at the rear of the house, and reconfiguring the middle of the house while leaving the front largely untouched other than the stoop and the porch. The second floor has a master suite addition, and we are redoing the 2 hall baths. The attic, we are enlarging the loft space and relocating the bathroom, but otherwise keeping the roof line the same. And in the attic level, or on the roof level, excuse me, we are removing the existing chimney and skylights on the rear of the house. We are keeping the original front fireplace and chimney at the front of the house. And our roof line, it's a little bit more clear in the elevation, but we are dropping our roof line a little bit lower than the main roof line, just to be very subservient and respectful to the main house architecture. In terms of the existing elevations versus the proposed, you can see the new front portico as well as the revised side porch. And then really the addition does kind of recede into the background as you're looking at it from the street. The right side of the house, you can see we've got the side porch here as well as our addition again, taking a lot of the design cues from the existing home, but remaining subservient. We had extensive discussions with HPO regarding the windows, and based on that feedback, our addition will differentiate itself from the existing house by using casement windows, whereas the original windows are double hung. The rear addition is being completely redone. And again, following the general details of the existing home with the casement windows. And then on the left side of the house, again, we're showing the casement windows on the addition, and then giving a corner board break here to sort of tell the story of the original volume of the house as it relates to the addition. And we've prepared some 3D renderings, again, showing the side stairs to the front entry will be completely changed to a much more inviting portico. And then you'll get a sense of the addition beyond, as well as the porch rework. And that can be shown a little bit more clearly on the front corner view. Again, the addition sort of recedes from the house. And we're trying to keep the idea of a more open but infilled porch by painting the sashes of the windows dark, so they read more as an opening, similar to what's being done now. And finally, we have a rear three-quarter view of the proposed rear addition, just to give a sense of that mass. So that concludes the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. And again, we appreciate the feedback and the chance to go through this process.
Great, thank you. Commissioner McWood, did you want to read your resolution now?
Sure, be happy to move the resolution. Whereas the owner of 3411 Newark Street Northwest, a contributing house in the Cleveland Park Historic District, has filed with the DC Historic Preservation Review Board for concept review of a two-story rear addition that includes removal of one of two chimneys, window replacements, mostly in kind, and the removal of a front door portico and porch to be replaced with a more elaborate portico supported with pillars and a new stoop and steps. And whereas the home was designed and built in 1904 by John Sherman, who is responsible for primarily craftsman style homes on Macomb Street and Newark Street, and whereas the home was altered prior to the historic district designation, and that renovation included removal of a wraparound porch, installation of a simple unsupported front door portico, and the reorientation of the entrance steps to the side. And whereas the DC Historic Preservation Office has commented that the altered house is now more compatible with the colonial revival style, which often features modest porticos supported by columns or pilasters. And whereas the HPRB application proposes a new portico with supporting columns and reorientation of the porch landing and steps to the front, and whereas the front foundation materials will be used to frame the new porch, be it resolved that ANC3C has no objection to the removal of the non-original front facade features and supports this proposed new construction of a simple porch with portico and columns, and has no objection to the massing and scale of the addition, which is deferential to the original house. Be it resolved that ANC3C has concerned about the compatibility of a proposed enlarged window at the right east corner of the first floor, which will be visible from Newark Street. Be it resolved, the chair and the commissioner for 3C09 are authorized to represent the commission on this matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui. Okay, discussion, commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, concerns, proposals, etc.?
I do. And I raised this issue by email as well. Is it okay with everyone if I share my screen for the particular window that was in Commissioner McWood's second to last clause?
Yeah, I think you should have those privileges.
Okay, great. So this is the clause that Commissioner McWood read out. Be it resolved that ANC3C has concern about the compatibility of a proposed enlarged window at the right east corner of the first floor, which will be visible from Newark Street. So I will go ahead and share my screen because I just want to, and I believe this is the window. Everyone can see my screen, correct?
It's two different questions. We can see your screen.
Okay, great. You can see my screen, and Chris is nodding his head. So this is the window. On the left, I have the existing window, and on the right, I have the new window. And I have added this red box for the extent by which the original window has been lengthened. Commissioner McWood, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I guess I'll just start my discussion here just to frame that is, I don't personally think this is a concern, for a window becoming sort of slightly enlarged. This is also on the side. So I don't think there's any extra part that would be visible from the street that would raise any concern. So I am open to supporting the resolution. Commissioner McWood, if you would remove that second to last clause from the resolution.
Commissioner Siddiqui did contact all of us on the commission about this issue, and I did respond to him that both in terms of the language used and the reasons for wanting to keep that clause in the resolution. Almost all of the windows, in fact, I think all of the windows on the first and second floor on both sides of the house are 6/6 double hung windows. This one would be 6/9. It isn't a huge issue. As such, I am not recommending and did not recommend in the resolution that we oppose it. All I said was that it was a concern, which simply brings it to the attention of the HPRB that this is something that we'd like them to take a look at. We are offering absolutely no recommendation on how they rule on it. And I'd like to add that I didn't think I need to do this, but the design guidelines that HPO has, they have window repair and replacement guidelines regarding prevention or preservation rather, and design guidelines for windows. And for secondary elevations, which this is a side, they say replacement windows on secondary elevations that are architecturally composed or contribute to the overall character and design of the property should closely match the character and visual qualities of the historic window. Alterations of window openings on secondary elevations that are architecturally composed or contribute to the overall character and design of a property is discouraged. Replacement windows on secondary elevations that are visible from a street should properly fit and fill original window openings. This isn't an arbitrary or capricious inclusion. And as I said, I'm not suggesting that we have a recommendation how the HPRB ought to rule on it, but I think it's appropriate to have it in an HPRB application regarding the Cleveland Park Historic District. And so I would not like to remove that clause because I think it's a reasonable inclusion given the other rulings that we have made or findings that we have had in the historic district and the design guidelines that HPO has.
Commissioner McWood, would you consider changing the word from has concern about the compatibility to is on ANC3C is uncertain about the compatibility?
That's fine. I'd be happy to do that. I use concern because concern is language in the ANC law, but what was the exact language you wanted to?
I would say, be it resolved that ANC3 is uncertain about the compatibility of a proposed enlarged window at the right east corner of the first floor, which will be visible from Newark Street.
That's fine. I accept that.
Thank you, Commissioner McWood.
You're welcome.
Hey, Commissioner Wood, it's Commissioner Fink. Just a quick question. Did the applicant, what was the applicant's rationale for expanding the window?
I talked to the architect about this, and I believe it's the homeowner's preference.
Yes, we are proposing a new door in the main living room from the living room into the office, which will be the first third of the infilled porch. And so to balance that door, we were envisioning perhaps a taller window. So that's why we added that to the proposal.
Oh, that sounds nice. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, is there any discussion, commissioners? Any further discussion? If not, we'll open it up to the public. Folks, if you have a question, comment, concern that you'd like to raise about this application, please click the reactions button, choose raise hand, and I'll ask you to unmute. Okay, seeing no public discussion on this. Oh, Bob Ward. Bob, I'm asking you to unmute.
Thanks. I mean, my only point on this is this going to be a precedent? You know, I think the one thing that homeowners in the historic district like is some sort of reasonable expectation of what's going to be compatible and not compatible. So are side windows at the corner of the house always going to be an issue? Or is this, we're saying this is a subjective matter on this particular case? I mean, my point is that there needs to be predictability. And, you know, frankly, I thought the research done on the front of this building was awesome. Rarely do you see front of the buildings get modified. So, I mean, kudos to all the sleuthing that went in to provide that. But generally speaking, the sides of the building and the rear of the buildings are given sort of wider latitude because they're not directly seen from the street. And I think one of the pictures that was shown in the presentation, you can't even see this window from the street. There's a big tree in front of it. So I don't know. That's my thought. I'm not, my comments are not about this particular project. It's more about how the ANC approaches this and how it affects other properties, because all these decisions should, you know, have precedent, you know, and predictability characteristics to them. Thanks.
May I respond? Chairman?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. Yes, Commissioner McWood, please respond.
First of all, you can see it from the street. I visited the site, and there's a lead walk going up. There is a fir tree of some sort that that borders the lead walk that from certain views may obscure the window, but the window is really literally at the corner of the house. As far as precedent setting, which I think was the context of Bob's comment, I think we try to follow the preservation and design guidelines regarding windows, and it has certainly, and I think this resolution is consistent with those. So this isn't something that is capricious, as I said, or unpredictable. And we often comment on sidewall windows, particularly if they're windows are being replaced and they're being proposed to be replaced with windows that are inconsistent with the original ones or with the remaining windows in the original house. So I don't think this is inconsistent with anything we've done in the past. And as I also mentioned, we're not making a recommendation here. We are simply bringing it to the attention of the HBRE as something that they need to look at.
It sounds like, Bob, did you raise your hand in response to that?
Yeah, just, I mean, I appreciate the comments that Nancy made. I mean, HPO staff looked at this and they didn't have a problem with it. So that's it. That's all I want to say.
I think this is this is really a very minor recommendation in the resolution, so I'm sort of surprised we're spending so much time on it. But I did talk to Steve Calcott about it, and he did tell me verbally after he'd written his staff report that he did share some concerns about that window.
Great. Commissioner Pagets? Commissioner Pagets, you're muted.
Well, you gave me permission to unmute myself and then took it away.
I think I clicked mute when I went to ask you to unmute. I think as soon as you did, I muted you. My apologies.
Fair, but not. But I agree with what Bob's saying here about setting precedent and not. I mean, this costs homeowners time and money to keep making these revisions, and on a side window, it just seems like a little ridiculous. And it's the HPO's job to point out things of concern if it really truly concerns him. And if he after the fact said it to you offhand, like it doesn't count in the report. He needs to include it. And I really do also commend doing the research on the porches, because that is an energy efficient, sustainable design feature that was historically in these properties that if it got deleted at some point, we should be bringing back, because that's the direction we want to, be moving in with having more energy efficient homes. So I really, commend the groundwork done on that research. So also currently under the sustainable guide for existing or historic buildings, front porch enclosures and new front porches, other than reconstruction of missing and original porches, actually the reconstruction doesn't need apparently the Preservation Review Board approval. Fun fact.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Pagets. Is there any other discussion, fellow commissioners?
Can we vote, please?
Second, call the question.
Okay, we have to then vote to move to call the question. Commissioner Fink, if you feel like withdrawing that, we won't have to vote on it. We can just move to voting, because that seems to be where we're at.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, commissioners, all those in favor of the resolution as proposed by Commissioner McWood and amended as amended, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Hey, Bo, my hand is raised in support.
Okay.
That's mine.
I heard Nancy say aye. So, okay, we've got Commissioner Pagets, Commissioner Finley, Commissioner McWood, Commissioner Reba, Commissioner Hoyt, Commissioner Fink, and Commissioner Siddiqui. And I don't think we have any other commissioners here. Any commissioners opposed? Any commissioners abstaining? Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you so much, Mr. Lyon.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon, and thank you also to Ms. Vickers for coming.
Yes, thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Great, and so now we are going to, because the ANC3C budget is the item that least might be of least interest to some of the folks here who since we have a discussion of application, Commissioner Fink, I understand your phone died and you're back online, which is great.
I'm back online.
Glad to have you back.
Let me, I don't know, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I can pull up this resolution.
Commissioner Fink also emailed it to us. I'm happy to paste it in the chat if that's easier.
Yeah, why don't you do that? That'd be easier for me, but I'd be happy to read it.
Okay, why don't you do so?
Okay, great.
And
I'm gonna
let me just provide a little context since we're we move things around this evening. This is for 2606 Connecticut Avenue application for to add clear vinyl sign panels, right? An application before HPRB, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Why don't you go ahead and read it, Jason?
Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me just do be it resolved. Actually, I'll just read the whole thing. ANC3C supports applicant's HPRB application for clear vinyl side panels attached to existing sidewalk cafe awning. Historic Preservation Review Board application for district kitchen at 2606 Connecticut Avenue Northwest for clear vinyl side panels attached to existing sidewalk cafe awnings. Whereas the applicant presented the proposed awning and side panels to ANC3C's Planning and Zoning Committee at its October and November meetings. Therefore, be it resolved that ANC3C supports the applicant's application. Be it further resolved that the chair, commissioner for 3CO2, which is myself, are therefore the designees are authorized to represent the commission regarding this resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui. All right, discussion among commissioners first.
I'll say something. So I think that District Kitchen, I want to say, you know, as a restaurant that's been in Woodley Park for several years, during the pandemic, they worked really hard to keep all their employees, you know, part of the payroll, and did a lot of things to, you know, make sure that people still had paychecks during the pandemic. As they come out of the recovery, one of the things they wanted to work on was, you know, having people come to the restaurant all year round, which includes the winter months, which we're about to enter. And during those months in Woodley Park, foot traffic is a lot slower. The zoo is closed for part of that time, so they get a lot less customers coming by. So they're one of the last restaurants in the area in the block to put up an awning, and they've been very helpful. They've worked on several design plans with the ANC. They've gotten DCRA approval for the awning, and they've, you know, been just great to work with. And I think also these side panels are only going to be up during the winter months. They're clear, and they're not intrusive. And I think, you know, it'll definitely help them get people into the restaurant.
Okay, any other commissioners wish to add to this discussion? All right, Mr. Blanchard.
Actually, I have a question
Go
for
ahead.
Commissioner Fink, if that's all right. Would you, it seems to me that it's material, what you just said, Jason, that the side panels will only be up in the winter months or when the temperature dips to some unspecified degree. Could you put into the resolution that that's what we're approving? If indeed that's how we vote, that our understanding is that the side panels will
I think that's
only
already
be
in,
used.
I think that's already in their application, so it's a little redundant. So I don't know why. I don't want to put that type of, you know, I don't want to put them in a got you moment if they say, you know, 38 degrees and it's 36 degrees and the panels are up, and, you know,
Mhm.
I rather just like trust, you know, my fellow good neighbor business that, you know,
Okay,
if it's
okay,
50 degrees outside, they may not have the panels up.
okay. Let me ask you another question then. If we,
Okay.
because precedent was an issue that came up with the previous resolution, if we approve these side panels, will that set a precedent for at least the west side of Connecticut Avenue, that anyone who has an awning, that we would be sort of compelled to also approve side panels if they ask for them?
I mean, it might start a side panel war in Woodley Park. No, but I think that I don't think it will. I think it'll be fine, and I think some other restaurants already have side panels as well. And I think that, I mean, I don't think they'll start a side panel panic. I think we'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Could be your famous last words, Jason. But okay, so public discussion. And Mr. Blanchard, I know you've been really, really excited to talk about this in particular. So I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay, good. There we go.
Thank you. I don't know if there's anybody else from the community that wants to talk before me.
Well, before you do speak, I should point out, folks, if you do want to contribute to this discussion, please click the reactions button, choose raise hand, and then I will eventually call on you and ask you to unmute. All right, please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for ANC commissioners on ANC3C. Thank you for taking this off the consent agenda and giving people who want to express their views on it a chance to be heard. I really appreciate that, and I think that's the intent of the ANC Act, is to hear people present their views. So really, I just have 2 points, and they speak to historic preservation issues. And those are that this particular property at 2606 Connecticut Avenue was one of the first commercial buildings built in Woodley Park. It was built in 1921 and is just a one-story building with a unique, well, most of the one-story buildings on both sides of the street have unique facades. And the thing that makes this facade unique is that it has 2 prominent bay windows or show windows. Sometimes they're called show windows to show retail products. And then above those 2 bay windows are what are called clear story windows. And those are smaller windows that pierce through the facade and allow light in the interior. And also light comes out to illuminate the street at night. And that's that. And then there's a stone facade above that. What this awning does is that it obscures those clear story windows. It obscures the whole midsection of the facade. And that is incompatible with the Woodley Park Historic District and the Office of Planning's guidelines for awnings. And I've included some photos with the letter I filed with HPRB. And those show sort of cafe umbrellas over tables outside in the cafe, public sidewalk cafe space back in June. And then some photos that show the new awning and its superstructure, its framework, completely blocks those windows. And it doesn't really matter if you add curtains or not. It's still, the view is blocked. I think the curtains are slightly better than what was originally proposed, but you still have the underlying problem of obscuring the facade. And so I think it sets a bad precedent if the ANC was to allow this to continue on having other awnings and side curtains all up the block. That's gonna, obliterate what makes Woodley Park so unique and interesting, which is its historic buildings. You don't have historic buildings. Every building is not historic, but this building is the first contributing building. And there are other buildings along that. I included a map that shows the other contributing buildings, and they're numerous. But this is going to be, it's going to take away from what makes Woodley Park so enjoyable, its commercial strip so enjoyable, by blocking the facade. And I think it's inconsistent with the Historic Preservation Act and the Woodley Park Historic District. To Commissioner McWood's point about seasonal use, and I think, I appreciate Commissioner Fink's inclusion of that in his resolution. The Woodley Park guidelines talk about, if you looked at what WPCA provided, they talk about specifically November 1 through March 31st. If you're going to allow awnings at all, then enclosure of those should only be from November 1st through March 31st. If you were to follow the community's guidelines, which is the Woodley Park Citizens Association guidelines. I understand the whole concerns about foot traffic and dining, and I don't know how many tables are inside district kitchen versus outside, but as somebody who's lived in the district, I lived in the district in the mid-60s, and I moved back to the district in 1984. So I've been here almost another 36 years after that. My little brother was born here in Cleveland Park. What makes a restaurant attractive is the food and the service. If you have good food and service, doesn't matter how many things you add on, people are going to go there. They're going to patronize the restaurant. It's going to be successful. So I don't think you need a huge awning or an enclosure to ensure the success of a restaurant. So that's basically it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Blanchard. Is there anybody
I don't
else?
know if Mr. Tajinia.
Yes, I do want to speak.
Okay.
I have already put my hands up a couple of times. But,
Yes, please speak.
I'm on? Okay. Good evening, everybody. My wife and I, Maria, we've been in Woodley Park since 1980s. And our business, it's people see you, that then they come to you, they try you, and then they like you. As Lyle said, if you're good, they'll keep coming back. If you're not good, they stop coming. With this awning that they have put right next to our business, the dry cleaners and the restaurant, they have totally shut our visibility. That the people that are walking, you cannot see us at all. Plus, we have remodeled the building. We did the facade. We spent a lot of money. We had to get another extra loan to finish the facade. We did it because, the whole neighborhood that have been so good to me and my wife and my family all these years, they had supported us. We started it with nothing. And we wanted it to sort of give something back, anyway, from the copper work. They're all hand-forged coppers, and our bay windows to the facade that we had to clean the stone and restore it again. And we had to set back. We didn't have to, but we set back like 50-something feet. And we lost a lot of revenue on that part. We did it because we wanted the Woodley Park to look nice. The street looks good, and keep everybody happy, the neighbors. And now with this thing, for many years, I have tried to keep the awning away from that side of Connecticut Avenue. So everybody get a chance to see all the businesses. Everybody can see me, can see the restaurant next to me, can see the hardware store, can see everything and everybody. But now this big chunk of plastic have been raised in front of our building, and all the hard work we did for the facade of the building, for make things looks nicer and much more pleasant to walk on Woodley Park and see a nice building, you have taken it all away. You can hardly see anything. And the restaurant, District Kitchen, is a very nice restaurant that they have plenty of room. It's very large inside. And ever since they have put that awning up, I hardly see anybody sitting outside anywhere. I've been watching. I said, maybe he is getting busier, but I hardly see anybody sitting outside. And it's just, I really, really need your help, Commissioner. Please don't let that happen to Woodley Park. Please don't let all these awnings start going up. I know if you approve them, my other side going to be coming asking for it. And I'm sure Commissioner thinks, since he's very pro awning, he would approve the other side awning as well without even giving us any notice. We didn't know that they're going to show up to work. And there it was. There was a big awning in front of the store. And nobody had told us anything. Nobody gave us any notice. Nobody mentioned that they even have applied for that, which they had applied many months before. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Sorry to take so much of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Commissioner McWood. Commissioner McWood, you should be able to unmute yourself, your co-host.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt if there are other people in the community who wanted to speak, because all I wanted to mention was a clarity issue. It's just a language issue. Do you want me to go ahead or should I wait?
Please go ahead. Yeah, nobody else has their hand up right now. I'll put
Okay.
another call up for comment.
Okay. Commissioner Fink, the last whereas says the applicant presented proposed awning and side panels to ANC's P&Z. I think it should be proposed side panels because the awning's already approved and exists.
How come we never got any notice? How come nobody even asked our opinion? How can they get approval without even mentioning it to us?
Commissioner McWood, that might actually be a question best answered by you, I think.
Best answered by me?
Give your
About the, well, it did not come to the ANC. It was, I think, the staff at the Historic Preservation Office. My understanding is the staff person who oversees Woodley Park Historic District talked to some people in the community, I believe associated with the Community Association, and I don't know whether Commissioner Fink was also included. And it was approved at the staff level. It did not go to the Historic Preservation Review Board, and as such, did not come to the ANC.
I had asked many people around that if anybody knew, any of the neighbor either side, nobody knew about it. And even our customer coming there, they've been living in Woodley Park for 40, 50 years. They live in Woodland Drive for many, many years. And they were all surprised. They said, how come this thing never came to the picture? How come it just popped up? Somebody just come and stick an awning in front of your store? I said, no, we didn't know either. They were all surprised why we let that happen.
There are some matters that the HPRB delegates to the staff. Sometimes the staff acts on those areas where they are authorized to make decisions. Sometimes they decide it should actually go to the ANC first. That didn't happen in this case, and there's no notice when the staff has delegated authority over a matter.
Yeah, Mrs. McWood, this is not the first time that it has been tried to put up awning in Woodley Park in that part of Connecticut Avenue. This is second or third time.
Mm-hmm.
And it had gone through historic preservation, it had gone through ANC, I want to say it was about 10 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently there was supposed to be a ruling that this side of Connecticut Avenue, because of its historic thing, they're not allowed to have any awning. Chairs and umbrella, it was okay. And after that, they were not supposed to be. We went through this thing. All Mediterra actually was the one next door. It was a Mediterra, and there was another restaurant, another Thai restaurant, or some kind of other restaurant that they had trying to do exactly what District Kitchen had done. And they gave us a notice, like they were supposed to, and then we went through the ANC and we went through the history, and they both said no, there's no such a thing.
Hey, I think this is Commissioner Fink speaking. I think Lee Bryan might have more insight because he's been a long time commissioner of Woodley Park. he might know the more history of the awnings and why some are approved and some aren't. I don't know if Lee Bryan wants to chime in.
No, I'm happy to do so. Thank you. A number of awnings were put up years ago without HPRB approval and appeared overnight. There were issues with the awning at Petit Platts on the east side of Connecticut Avenue. It was the last restaurant going north on Connecticut. It was the last restaurant on the right. There was an issue with the elevation of their awning due to the number of steps leading up to the restaurant. It was out of the awning size and dimensions was out of sync with the scope, look, and feel of the rest of the awnings. When Cafe Paradiso closed, that awning was never replaced. Starbucks tried to put up another awning. It was not approved by HPRB. HPRB, from my lens, has been trying to maintain the look and feel of the historic district. And look, McIntyre's put up had an awning. The Indian restaurant across the street had an awning. But I will say these establishments were very mindful of speaking with their neighbors and the community because they wanted to make sure that their awnings were appropriate and sensitive to the historic district, not bringing in colors that were based on perhaps a national survey on what color actually attracts people to come in. You know, I just know from my dealings, and I feel like everybody's had different conversations or different takes on these awnings, but I am aware of the issues that Mediterra had putting up an awning. And I'm aware that HPRB has been trying to maintain the front structure of these historic buildings. But if I may, I'd like to take this moment to just raise not a concern, but I wanted to comment on what Commissioner Fink raised regarding not putting in his resolution regarding the seasonal side panels. I would just share that it's not uncommon for resolutions to match an application. In fact, they should complement each other and mirror each other. I mean, we all know that ANCs have great weight. So if we don't mirror the application, it appears that we're giving an approval above and beyond in what's different from the application. So I don't know where the concern is by putting in the word seasonal in the resolution, being that it complements and mirrors the applicant's application itself. I hope some of that was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. It did. And I'd like to do call to question. Is that the right term, Commissioner Finley? Chair Finley?
You don't have to call a question if we're done with debate. So let's first figure out if we're, and I don't feel like putting folks through an extra round of voting. Are we done with discussion, everybody?
Could I just get an answer to whether proposed awning is what Commissioner Fink intended to put in the last whereas, or is it supposed to be proposed side panels only? Since the awning already exists.
Yeah.
Side panels only.
Okay, so thanks.
Amended. Okay, is the whole thing amended to say side panels then instead of awning? Whatever matches the application, I'm guessing.
I think it's all right everywhere else.
Everywhere else is fine.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, all commissioners in favor of the resolution as written, and I believe, was it amended, Commissioner Fink? Oh yes, just amended with the side panels. Please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, Jason, you're aye. We do not have Commissioner Gerson nor Commissioner Boucher. Okay, so it passes unanimously. Thank you all, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Tangina and Mr. Blanchard for discussing this with us. And we'll move on to our next order of business, which is the ANC3C budget, correct? Treasurer Siddiqui?
Yes, Chair Finley. So I have sent a proposed budget out by email to all commissioners. I didn't hear any feedback from any commissioners regarding it. I am going to share my screen so everyone, including the public, can see the budget. And the budget is as it appeared on the screen. I'm also happy to scroll down to last year's budget as well. I have that available too. But this is basically based on what we spent last year. And I wanted to see if any commissioners had any changes or any additions to this budget, or questions, in fact. Go ahead, Commissioner McWood. Yes.
I don't have a question about the FY22 budget proposal, but it did about FY21. I'm just confused about the allotments, and I don't want to take a lot of time with it, but it appears that we got an allotment of $24,000 in the first quarter and none in the second, and then a double allotment in the fourth. I'm just a little confused.
So yeah, I have to go back and look at this, Commissioner McWood, and I can send the whole thing to everyone, all the commissioners as well. I believe this was delays on and I don't remember. I'm not gonna. It could have been my fault as well. I think partly from previous one. During the exchange of treasurers, I believe there were some delays. So those delays caused some delays in, and then there was some issue of a application of the grant application and things like that the Office of ANC was waiting on. So they were waiting on some documents, and that's why it was delayed. And so I think that's the reason. But Commissioner McWood, I'm happy. I'll go in and look at the exact dates that it came in, and I can send everyone an email for clarifying.
Thank you. It's just that line in the under district allotment that seemed confusing to me. Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Okay. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, Mr. Bernier. Can I ask you to unmute?
Yeah, that's close enough. Thank you. I live over in Calvert House. I was just curious about the grant byline. It says, $12,000, and it doesn't quite specify what's in those grants. Are those like publicly published someplace so we can see what grants are being allocated?
Yes. So those are on our. So the $12,000 is for the upcoming fiscal year. That's the proposal. Last year, and Commissioner Siddiqui, do you mind switching to the other tab? Last year we gave out, I believe, 8,000. Is that correct? Or we gave out 5,000, but we'd only allocated 3,000, and we passed resolutions on that. I believe most of it went to Ward 3 Mutual Aid. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so that's. But yes, the grant application process is on our website, ANC3C.org. as are the resolutions showing how grants were, or which grants were given out. And DC law requires us to, our grants have to be beneficial to the entirety of the ANC3C community. So it can't just be, for example, a grant to a small business in one member's district or something like that. It has to benefit the entire community.
And I just want to clarify as well, Commissioner Finley, this is just a budget. This doesn't mean that we will give out $12,000 in grants. It can always be rebudgeted later, and depending on how the process plays out.
It's guidelines, really, right?
Yes.
But required by law.
Yes, we're required to have a budget.
Yes, great. Okay, Bob Ward?
Yeah, is there a policy reason why you are looking to end the year with $55,000 in the bank?
There is not a, should I answer as treasurer, Chair Finley, or would you like to answer as chair?
No, I'd like to hear your answer.
Okay, so I think the end, there's no policy reason why we want to end with that amount. I think for us, we we did up the grants budget because we saw how useful it can be in the community. And at this point, I didn't get suggestions from commissioners for funding in other places. These are our tax dollars, so we have to be a little careful where we assign them. On the other hand, if good places do come up to spend these, then I think it's good to have a cushion. I dare say I really hope we don't go through a pandemic again or any other event again where we would need the money and need the cushion. But yeah, I believe that it's there's no policy reason. It's just a good reason for safety, and we have a healthy budget that we can work within and make sure that all of the money that we've given the government that is now coming back to us is spent appropriately.
Okay, thanks. I've seen other ANCs around the city spend a lot more money on grants, particularly in the pandemic. And I know your ANC has provided some modest grants to some of those. And I think the DC law has changed for the pandemic to allow you to do that. I don't know if that's going to still be the case, but it seems like the city's giving you money to, part of the reason is to hand out in grants that you be open for business to doing some more good in the neighborhood.
Well, as you see, Bob, we've raised our grant budget by 400%. So we've made it 4 times. And I am open if other commissioners want to add more, or if we stick to this and see how it goes, and then we add more later on, we can always rebudget.
Yeah, Bob. So since, I'm running that community engagement and grants committee, I think I was a little bit conservative with putting this number up there because of the somewhat consternation that was going through that whole process of getting that approved. So since we went over last year, figured, if we have the money and we have the good case through the application process to spend it, like we can make that happen, because the application process is so, lengthy and robust. It allows for that. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I just, I don't want to be imprudent with the money, but I mean, if it doesn't seem like there's a rational reason to end the year with $55,000 in the bank, right? That's not helping anybody. So thanks.
Totally agree, which is why I wanted the committee.
Thanks, Bob. All right. Is there any further discussion? Okay, and Commissioner Siddiqui, Treasurer Siddiqui, you're moving this budget forward, correct?
Yes, I would like to move the budget for a vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Okay. Any further discussion? Going once, going twice? Okay. Commissioners, all those in favor of the budget as presented this evening, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I see Commissioner Reba, Commissioner Siddiqui, Commissioner Hoyt, Commissioner Baggett, and I hear Commissioner McWood. We are missing Commissioner Fink, Commissioner Gerson, and Commissioner Boucher. Okay, so motion passes. Thank you, Treasurer Siddiqui. That moves us out of our regular business for the evening. And let's see, moving on to the agenda. Okay, next up on the agenda, we have the Secretary's report. Secretary Reba.
Thank you, Chair Finley. Thank you to those commissioners who responded to my questions regarding their October SMD reports. If anyone has no objections or no further changes, I'd like to move the October 18, 2021 minutes of the ANC3C.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? All right, commissioners, all those in favor of the Secretary's report, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Or say aye, thank you. And we've got, it's unanimous. 6, all those opposed or abstaining? We're missing 3 commissioners. Okay, I'm gonna mute Nadine Granoff. Thanks. All right, next order of business are our SMD reports. And I'm sorry, Treasurer's report. Sorry, Swallow, I skipped it.
That's okay. We've discussed the budget, so I think we can skip the Treasurer's report this time.
Okay, great. Sounds good. And Commissioner Rebo, right back to you.
Okay, thank you. First off, I will not be at our December ANC public notice meeting for Monday, December 13th. And with that being said, I wanted to bring to your attention 3 holidays in 2022, because you are probably going to consider the ANC calendar at our December meeting. So I just want to bring to everybody's attention that the 3rd Thursday of January is MLK Day. So we'll have to move that to Tuesday, January 18. And in February, President's Day falls on the 3rd Thursday, which is February 21st. So our meeting will have to take place on Tuesday, February 22nd.
Sorry to interrupt. We do Wednesday meetings.
No,
because I have
we do Monday meetings.
No, for those Mondays that we can't do because
Right.
I can't be at the meetings on Tuesdays.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for that reminder and clarification. So also we'll have to take into consideration November because the 3rd Thursday is the 21st, which is Thanksgiving week. And as we will adjust those meetings as we did for tonight for 2021, those adjustments will have to be made for 2022. That's all. So I wanted to bring that.
Thank you.
Just a few other things. I did receive a couple of complaints at the Kennedy Warren regarding the poor performance of the traffic signal at the Kennedy Warren garage exit, and which is adjacent to the National Zoo entrance and exit. So I plan to meet with the residents. I've already put a call out to DDOT and our Ward 3 liaison. Regarding the Woodley Park commercial strip, Hun Palace is still scheduled for completion by next month. Second item in the commercial district is that the building owner of the former Dunkin' Donut space is working a good use for that space and told me this afternoon that there could be some good news in the coming year. So I was told to stay tuned. And the third item within the commercial district is the owner of 2631 to 2641 Connecticut Avenue provided an update today on their 3rd floor penthouse renovation. We approved this application and passed a resolution, and they are trying to pre-lease the space to make the construction easier. So once the space is leased and they've accomplished that goal, the construction phase will begin. I received a number of calls asking, well, what happened? Is it not happening because of the pandemic? What's the update? And that's the update. They're just looking to pre-lease the space before they begin the construction phase. And finally, regarding the National Zoo, as I reported out in September, the zoo reopened in May and their team has worked tirelessly to create a safe environment for visitors, staff, and animals. And with that, they had to sadly cancel several of their traditional events that take place in the fall. So I just wanted to remind everybody that unfortunately, Zoo Lights has been canceled for 2021. So there'll be no event during the holiday season this year, which is kind of sad. It's a great event. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fink is not here. Commissioner Baggett?
No updates.
Sorry, are you passing? Okay. All right, well, a quick update from 3C04, the fight in 3C04. We have, there's good news on the St. Arnold's front, some good news, some bad news. Bad news is it appears St. Arnold's is not returning. The good news, though, is that the landlord has cleaned out most of the space and had a contractor clear out what had been damaged by a fire 2 years ago, a year and a half ago now. And they are currently looking for a tenant. They're looking at restaurants and other ideas. So hopefully something will come to fruition soon there. And that's my report, and I'm sticking to it. Commissioner Siddiqui?
Thank you, Commissioner Finley. Yeah, I will talk about Hearst Park and Pool again. The construction sites, the questions I had asked Councilmember White and his staff have still not been answered. We have some immediate concerns and some longer term concerns. There's a new concern since last time in that they're leaving the lights on at the construction sites. Those lights seem unnecessary, so we're trying to work with neighbors to get that resolved. And then finally, I'll be working with neighbors to talk about a transportation plan as well for after it's constructed. So I'll be getting to work with some neighbors on that.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Hoyt?
Sure. So this is not necessarily limited to my SMD, but wanted to share it regardless. Today at 7 p.m., so Monday, November 15th at 7 p.m., DC's hypothermia alert was activated. And so if anyone sees someone experiencing homelessness, you can call DC's shelter hotline at 202-399-7093 or by simply dialing 311. And that's all for 3C06.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoyt. We are missing Commissioners Boucher and Gersten. We will move to Commissioner McWood.
I'll pass tonight.
Okay, sounds good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great.
Second.
Thank you. So thank you all, and we'll reconvene on December 13th. Commissioner Reba will miss you, and thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.